About myself, my name is Tiffany Fabian. I am an enrolled agent. You're going to find out that we have basic classes, and then if you work for us this year, Maria will send you a note and say the advanced classes are coming. Sign up for an advanced class, and the advanced class is 1 day a week. After you've taken advanced 1 and 2, you could take the enrolled agent class, and traditionally there's 3 parts to the EA test. It's a test that you take at a testing facility, like you're getting a CPA, you know, you go to Prometrics, you go to one of those testing facilities and you sit in a little cubby and you take a test. Well, for the enrolled agent, I took 3 of those tests. The first part is for individual returns. The second part is for corporations and partnerships and basis and all that fun stuff. And the third part is ethics. So there's 3 parts to the EA exam, and you have to go to a Prometrics testing center, and you are all nervous and you're sitting in a little cubicle and everybody's quiet and they're watching you. And at the end, you find out if you passed or not. So when we have the EA classes, when our advanced classes roll out, we usually, each year we teach either 1, 2, or 3. Last year we taught part 3. This year they're teaching part 2, and you have 3 years? Oh, you have either 2 years or 3 years to pass all the parts of the EA. So when I started taking part 1, I had 2 years to pass all the other ones, or else the clock started anew. Yes.
How are you supposed to take all 3 parts if they only do 1?
Good question. Good question. So you have 3 years to take it. I think it's 3 years to pass all the sections.
Okay.
So last year they did part 3. So I know Maria and Karen took Chris's class and they passed part 3. This year they're doing part 2 of the EA, and so they could go and take it and pass it. And then next year, of course, part of it though, there's a lot of people that work for us who've gotten their EA. There's like 4 or 5, and they did a lot of it self-study. Mm-hmm. So you can do it self-study.
And just go take the test.
And just go take the test.
Okay.
Yep. Good question. Yes.
What does EA stand for?
Enrolled agent. It means that you can practice in front of the IRS.
That means you can go do taxes for yourself.
You could do taxes by yourself without being an enrolled agent. You could do taxes for yourself. That leads into a whole new topic, which I'll get to in a minute. You need something to do taxes by yourself, and I'll get to that in a minute. So I'll get to that topic in a minute. After you come back every year, we'll have you do the advanced class and the EA, and so that's a good option. And where was I? So I'm Tiffany Fabian. I'm an enrolled agent. I am the Vice President of Marketing at EG Tax. I've been with EG Tax for 14 years. Time waits for no one, right? I have a bachelor's in business. I have a master's in social work. I'm a registered nurse. I am at UB currently working on my nurse practitioner. I'm a very busy person. I have 2 children. They are 16 and 22. And as a nurse, I also work I'm a home case manager, so that's why the laptop is there. So I am a very busy person, and that alludes to why I like texting and emails, right? And so we waited for you. Rosemary had a really good question. And the question was, and I've been teaching this class for 10 or 11 years, is the chapters don't say week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I have been teaching this for so long, it always said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This year, the person who wrote the book sort of made a mistake as far as I could see. The mistake is that they did the tax return they did the textbook as you see a tax return. Interest, dividends, alimony, business income, pension, and then the adjustments. They did the textbook right down the line. However, Chris and then they did refundable credits way at the end of the textbook. Refundable credits are page 2 of the 1040. And so they saved that, Mark, saved that for the end of the book. Well, the bad thing is, enroll EIC, earned income credit, child tax credit, additional child tax credit are so important. You wouldn't want to save that for the end of the book. That's illogical. That was a mistake, and it was a flaw. So because of the way that he wrote the book, we have had to arrange how we're teaching the class. And that's because there's some really important things that you can't say for chapter 15. It's just illogical. So thank you, Rosemary, for raising that excellent point. You followed the syllabus. And the reason she did 1, 2, and 15, 15 is a really easy chapter. And so I think that's why we changed the syllabus that way. So yeah, follow this outline. And so this was going to be very important to you.
Where's that outline?
In the syllabus, page 5. Tyler asked a really good question. Tyler asked, can you just go prepare returns on your own? And I might not have all the parameters perfectly because I'm human, but around 5 years ago, so excuse me if I don't say this correctly, about 5 years ago, the IRS said, well, this is crazy. If Rosemary does returns, if Tyler does returns, if Richard does returns, you should be licensed. It shouldn't be anybody that just goes to do a tax return. Because there's all these mistakes, there's all these nuances. So the IRS said, okay, in 3 years, this was 5 years ago, you have to take a test unless you're an enrolled agent, unless you're a CPA or an attorney. You have to take a test. This is crazy. This is unheard of. Then, I don't know who, those action interest groups, an interest group took the IRS to court. They took the IRS to court and they said that is unconstitutional. The tax code was written in such a way that it should not be difficult for you to do a return. There should be no test. The tax code should not be so difficult that you can't do your own tax return. So this action group took the IRS to court and they said, no, that is not how the Constitution of the United States was written. Anybody should be able to do their own tax return. And guess what? They won. Isn't that exciting? Wow. All the states, we have 50 states, they got really clever and they said, okay, so that might be unconstitutional, but we are New York State, we are South Carolina, we are Georgia, we can make our own rules. So New York State said, okay, it might not be a federal mandate, but we're gonna make it a New York mandate. So a few years ago, it was passed that you have to take continuing education to be a tax preparer by New York State, and you have to take a test unless you're a CPA, an enrolled agent, or an attorney. So you guys have 2 years and you have to take a test through New York to do taxes. So you asked a really good question, Tyler. Did I answer your question? Also, on that side note, you have to have a practitioner tax ID number. So you have to, through the IRS, you have to apply for a PETN number, a practitioner tax ID number. In order to get that number, I think it's $75. You go to irs.gov and you apply for it. Probably wait until you're done with the class. You get it right away. If you finish a season with you, we'll reimburse you for the $75.
So we do that when we finish the class here.
Yes. You can't, in order to be get a practitioner number, you can't have back taxes. You can't not be in good standings with your taxes, like if you're in a payment plan, that's fine. So in order to get a practitioner tax ID number, you have to be in good standings with the IRS. You also have to get a New York practitioner tax ID number. Wait to the end of the class. Same sort of logic falls with that too. And you have to renew those. Of course, they want your money every year. You have to renew those numbers every year. So that's a really good question you asked, Tyler. You can have an offense, like you can have something on your record to get your practitioner tax ID number, but it can't be an offense that relates to taxes. Like you could have a
tax evasion.
Right, tax evasion, embezzlement, something like that. So you can have a record to get a practitioner tax ID number, but it can't be something in the lieu of finances or something like that. So I hope that sort of answers all your questions. Thank you. Yes.
So even though the IRS doesn't require an exam anymore, you still have to get a number?
Yes.
And you can't do it on your own without this number?
Right.
You can't do it at all. You can't even work for you without that
Right.
number.
Right.
And the state number is different?
It is a different number. Yes.
So do we have to get two different numbers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You have to get one for other states
Yes.
if you're doing a tax return.
Oh, no. If
That's
you're doing,
implications in
like
other
I do a
states.
lot of tax returns for people who live in Washington and Maryland, and I don't need numbers for those other states. Now, if I was practicing in North Carolina, I would need a North Carolina number, but practicing in New York, doing other tax returns, you just need New York's.
As long as they send you the information here and you don't go there.
Right. And now, with that being said, I guess the IRS is going to they have a counter thing going against that person, that action group, to try to appealing it. Thank you. Yeah, they're the IRS.
What court is that?
I don't know. Interesting, right?
It's the IRS. It's probably like a Supreme Court matter or something.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely
Can you
go
explain
there.
that again? Why we need two numbers to start work?
Because we do federal tax returns and we do New York tax returns. You guys got the New York State consideration book, and so we do New York tax returns and we do federal returns. So that's why you need two numbers.
You have to pay for your New York one too.
I think it isn't a cost. I think it isn't a cost. It isn't a cost. It isn't a cost because if you work under an enrolled agent, a CPA, or a lawyer, I'm going from memory, you don't have to pay for the New York State number, and we have arranged our 30 offices in such a fashion that there is an EA or an attorney or a CPA who works at each of the offices.
Okay.
I think that's.
So if you knew a lawyer, you could just go work under a lawyer
Yeah.
and do taxes.
Well, but you still need a those numbers. You wouldn't have to pay for the New York one because you're working under them. Okay, now let's take a few minutes and go around the class. It'll help me to remember. I know you guys hate this. Tell me who you are, your background, what you hope to gain from this class, sort of whatever you want to say. Rosemary, and your name.
Oh, okay. I'm Rosemary Bolero. I retired last year. I worked for the state of New York for about 37 years, both in the Labor Department and the Department of State. My background there was I did audits.
Tax audits?
And actually, I think I remember going to an EG
Oh,
office at
cool.
one time
That's
to do an
fun.
audit on a clock.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's good. How many years did you work for New York?
About 37.
Did you like
Retired.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did.
That's
I did.
fun.
I like the idea. I know it sounds weird, but you really help people.
Yeah.
You go out in the field. and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
go through the different
Oh,
things.
that's fine.
So it was interesting. I got to work
Oh,
with
when
people
you're
in
doing
different industries.
I can't tell you. This is a funny story. I learn more about people doing tax returns than I do being a nurse. I could tell you the craziest stories. Oh my God, the craziest stories. A client came in and she told me her daughter hung herself 2 weeks ago. another client came in and I'm doing her tax return, and she has 3 kids, and her husband never comes with her. She goes, Tiffany, really, my husband doesn't live with me. He's an alcoholic. He's a functioning alcoholic. He has an apartment down the road, never sees the kids. With another lady, we'll call her Jane. I've been doing her tax return for many years, and she comes in with her second husband. This year, so happens, her second husband wasn't with her. I'm like, Jane, can I ask you whatever happened to your first husband? Tiffany, can I tell you? Well, my son and my daughter were this age, and my son was outside riding his bike with his friend. A drunk driver came and instantly killed my son. He was riding his bike. And then about 8 months later, my husband had a massive heart attack. She goes, that year I just about wanted to kill myself if it wasn't for my daughter who I had. I could tell you those stories. I could sit here all day and write a book about the stories that I've heard. So I help people doing taxes, I feel. The other day I had a young man who came in to me. He goes, I haven't filed in 6 years. He's a teacher. He's almost a teacher, trying to get a teaching job. He goes, my dad was controlling. He would take my mom's Social Security disability. He would take my paycheck. He wouldn't do the tax returns. I can't tell you the control this man had over me. So I haven't filed in 6 years. My father died. He would tell my mom her Social Security was $200 a month. It was really $1,200 a month. He had a gambling addiction problem. We lost our house. We were put out on the street. The house was foreclosed on. Our cars were all taken. I could tell you these stories all day long. It breaks my heart. You probably remember
Oh
those
my
stories.
goodness, yeah. I had one lady once, I think she moved from North Buffalo,
Yeah,
Tonawanda to Lockport, and those were all my area.
yeah,
And every couple of years, they were always delinquent, filing things.
yeah.
So I'd go down there, and I think I saw her kids growing.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, the last one, she was breastfeeding.
Yeah.
And she goes, Rosemary, do you mind if I said, go ahead, I'm just doing my thing.
exactly.
You get to know people.
You do the stories.
And then
I-
you hear you yell at them and go, file everything on time.
Yeah.
You're paying money, extra
Yeah,
money for
yeah.
no reason.
The stories, the stories. I could write a book. All right.
My name is Rena. I'm just taking this course just because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
interested in it.
Rena is taking this course just because she's interested in it, which is
I'll
great.
learn more about it.
Great.
Understand my own.
Amen, Rena. Well, we're glad to have you. You, sir. I know what's. Well, yeah, let's go back here. Yeah, we'll.
Oh, I can go. I can go.
Okay.
Get it over with.
What was your name?
I'm going to speak into the camera. Okay. Just kidding. My name is Harveston, and I go by Jack.
Jack. Jack. Okay.
Like basically, my field of interest has been engineering, controls engineering, electrical engineering. So I did that for maybe like around 15 years. Right now, I'm kind of like semi-retired. I look at it because I can't find work in Buffalo. Stay with my mom's. That's why I can't get jobs out of Buffalo. Which is okay. Like the guy that you mentioned, I haven't filed my taxes for 6 years.
Oh.
So, well, since.
Did you file recently?
No.
Well, you should come see me. That's my specialty. Do you have to file though? Do you even have to file?
I guess I've been working like contract, maybe like 6.
Are you getting 1099s?
No.
Okay.
No, I haven't did anything.
Okay.
So I was going to go with that, but you especially see that in order to be a practitioner, I have to be in some kind of standing.
I will help you, and I will hardly charge you.
And
Very hardly.
so basically, what I'm doing, I'm taking this course to have another skill set.
Amen.
And see what I can do. With
Amen. It's great. Oh, you help people. I help people more doing this than that other job. I guess follow the money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Money.
Get the money.
The money is the root of all evil. Isn't that how what the saying goes? Yeah. Sad. Yeah. Let's go back here.
I'm Barry Heitner, I'm a retired chemical engineer.
Oh, look at this. You got Barry and Jack.
DuPont?
Yes, they
Jack?
have an opening.
Yeah.
And they do
Don't you
proper controls
work at
engineer.
DuPont?
Did you work at DuPont?
Yeah.
Oh
You
my
work at
God.
DuPont?
Yes.
Greg, don't you remember?
No.
Jack Lane?
Jack what?
Well, technical Korean.
Sorry.
I remember you. Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Well, they have another opening then
Okay.
for
That's
controls.
cool.
All right.
Hey, Jack goes.
Oh, I got to go.
So, I've always
How
played
long did
with
you work at DuPont?
38 years.
Wow. What shift did you work?
Day shift.
Did they have night shifts?
Yeah, they work
Yeah,
24
I
hours.
think I do
Oh,
have
yeah.
some clients who works there.
My friend's dad goes in and works 3 to 3.
Yeah, that's what I
every day.
thought,
Right,
yeah.
right.
yeah.
No, I was a engineer, so I was
Okay.
working in R&D.
Good.
career.
And Jack remembers you.
Exactly remember me.
Yeah, I
That's
was,
because he
I was
was
in the
working.
technical group. Paul, I forgot Paul's
Paul
name.
Brown?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was many years ago.
We're getting older.
The time waits for no one, sort of thing.
Right.
Nice to meet you. I guess we'll finish back here. This is.
I'm Tyler. I'm from Allegheny County, and I am here because I want to give people money from the government. It's the only job that the government will give you money back.
Points. You, sir.
I'm Todd Fuller. I'm a professional actor looking to pick up a skill that will travel.
Amen. Oh, there you go. There you go. Gosh. Well, one of my clients I do a tax return for, he works at Damon. He teaches acting at Damon. I don't remember his name right now. But great job, right? And he also does acting too.
Thing, Richard Lambert.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, so small, Western New York is a sort of a small community, yeah. Are you doing anything
Yeah, I'm
recent?
doing, he's directing Pinocchio.
Oh my goodness,
Thank you.
that's so cool, that's awesome. Have you always done acting for a long time?
No, about 5 or 6 years now.
Okay,
Started this phase. That's it.
that's really good. Okay,
Monday Simons. Let's see, I'm just trying to get back to a career. I was cashing for a while and I was too much on standing and things like that. But I love people. I'm a social bird. And I did work for a competitor tax, income tax about 6 years ago for about 3 seasons.
that's great.
I could do it on the computer in a minute because I've done my taxes and my friends, but the logic and all the new things,
Yeah.
I want to refresh it. get
That's
back.
good.
And I had such a great time being social with people when I was working. It was a great job. I felt really nice. Clients would always return. And
Exactly.
have friends with.
Oh, when we
God
started.
bless you and your whole career in life. You're it's amazing.
Yeah, I get in trouble though a lot with my family. So it's a tug and war because they're like, you're never with us, and so it's opportunity cost because I miss out on a lot of stuff. And so then when you sit back and you think to yourself, did I do it right? You know? So it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off, and then you wonder if you did the right thing.
Well, my mom, when I was younger, for the first half of my life, she did X-ray, CAT scan, and an MRI, and the whole shebang. And she actually fell on her head off an MRI truck, and it ruined her career. But she says, if she could go back and do it again, she would still go back and do it, even with the 70 or 80 hours a week. It's worth it to
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
I have an older brother. Yeah, he was actually the day before his graduation messaging the boss of my mom's ER. She worked in the ER about how they ruined his life because she was always on call and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. No,
But if she could go back and do it, she would. She went to school for a homeopathic medicine.
Right.
And stuff. So the people who want to go help people and be in the medical industry, there's just something about them. Yeah. It's in their chemistry.
DNA. Yeah. That's Wendy, and then I'm sorry.
I'm Linda Sharon.
Okay, nice to meet you. And
my background is in biology and chemistry. I worked in the manufacturing environment around Erie County and Monroe County for 30-some years. And
so you work for the county?
No, I worked in the Erie County and Monroe County, different manufacturing companies.
Gotcha.
And right now I'm unemployed. I'm trying to find employment in my field, but it's very hard to with the county the way it is. So I
Yeah.
thought, I've always been interested in taxes, so I thought, take this course or try to get some, trying to sell my.
And I wonder if that field is harder around Western New York?
It is very hard around
Yeah,
this area.
yeah.
I've tried for a long time to get
Yeah.
employment in my field.
Yeah,
Very
hard
hard.
around the area. I don't know.
And I think age is a factor too. So
I hear that a lot.
I think so.
I hear that a lot, Linda. Really
I
hear
don't
that
know
a
why I'm
lot.
so able-bodied and,
Oh, it
my mind
breaks
is
my
sharp.
heart. I
So,
hear that too much. I almost think like when you go to an interview, you ever watch The Voice and the judges have their backs turned? It almost seems like when you interview, the chair should be turned and they don't
Yeah.
know what you look like, but they hear your qualifications
Exactly.
and your just doesn't
you get prejudged.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
I'm Lucy Driscoll. My career has been in payroll. I have my certification CPE
Okay.
for over 30 years in payroll. With my, I downsized the company, restructured, and lost my position. So I love doing taxes. I used to do
Many years ago. That's great.
And I'm interested in that.
We have a small division at EG Tax that Maria Ricker headed up. You'll hear the name Maria a lot. Maria is our district manager, and if Maria could do everything, Maria would do everything. She's just a bull by the horn type of person, and she started our payroll division. It's not very big, but I think she loves doing payroll and bookkeeping. So,
I talked to her at the
oh,
workshop.
yeah, Maria's got her hands in
She
everything.
mentioned that she.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that you were at the workshop too.
Yeah.
And so was Rosemary. Yeah, Maria. So we have a bookkeeping and payroll division. As a matter of fact, we're looking for a full-time bookkeeper during tax season.
Okay.
So you should call Maria ASAP.
Yes.
Bookkeeping. I'll write down Maria's.
Yeah.
And you're gonna call the office and you're gonna ask for Maria. She's putting an ad in the paper right now.
Why don't you
Very good.
Just call Maria right now.
I
Say,
said-
don't put the ad in the paper.
Don't put the ad in the paper! Stop!
If it happens, then I'll have to take this person night.
Yeah. All right, that's Richard. Richard, tell us. I do Richard's tax return, and I know his
Yes.
wife, and he's a great person. I could probably tell you about Richard. He does quality control.
Oh, yeah.
Quality,
engineer,
Quality.
control, quality systems.
yeah, a lot of engineers.
For, at that time, it was all Great Batch,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah,
And was all over the country for Great Batch,
Yeah.
including Switzerland, Germany, France, England, and then the rest of it was pretty much US
right.
as it was growing. But at a point in time, you could just get laid off because you're getting too old. So that's what happens. But I play with boats.
Yeah, he loves boats.
My wife is going to sell hers. Told her not to do it because it's got the full kitchen in it. We could have brought it up to Youngstown.
And I think that your wife works for 3M, IBM. I got the M right.
And I'm finishing off mine, so that's almost done. And I sort of, this was more of an interest of learning how to do this,
Right.
not really wanting to do it.
But you might be forced into it.
Yeah, I
Just-
know.
So it's,
And it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
I rebuilt the backyard, put up the rose gardens.
Right.
I made rose gardens in the backyard with paths through it and, the trellis with lights on it and all that stuff.
I know that when Rich comes in, because after he had his job at the last place, and you were at another place doing quality control and you didn't like it very much or it wasn't a good fit. And I think
I got permanently put on retirement.
your wife
My
said
wife
that?
put me on retirement.
Yeah, he was looking, and he's the type of person like you, Linda. I think Rich, you would knock down the doors, and you were right. Weren't you pretty?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was good. It was,
Yeah.
I did the rapid prototyping facility out
Yeah.
in Indiana.
Wow.
I did the entire state,
You can play with that sort of stuff.
federal taxes for a rapid prototyping facility. Did the whole thing on all the stuff and all the requirements that they would have to have. We got all the little things so they could hang it on the wall.
Right.
And yeah, it was interesting. It was fun.
Yeah.
And at some point, you get sent to retirement. So.
Yeah.
And I sit there and I say, I'm gonna go back to work because I'm bored in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But then I go.
It's almost like they force you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really kind of. I haven't lost anything. She keeps saying, "No, you probably not."
But you're so able-bodied and able-minded and all the experience.
Yeah, I laugh at some of this stuff. I worked out at Medina for a while at Baxter.
Right.
We did a year out there, but it wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
It was starting to get it's too long of a drive.
Yes.
Yeah. That type of thing.
Well, before I go to the next person, it's so funny teaching this class for a long time. There'll be a lot of people that take the course, and I can recall, and they maybe don't work for us, but I get the honor of doing their tax return afterwards. So I still get to see you guys in some sort of form or fashion. There's a few that I can think of.
You do it for yourself.
Right. Well, I was just taking my New York continuing education classes, and it said on New York, it says, do you realize that 80% of New York State tax returns are prepared by somebody? And so they're outlining the groundwork of why it is that there has to be some mandates for that. Okay, you, sir.
My name is Joseph Johnson, small business owner. Different businesses do auto detailing,
That's a good way to do it.
parking, and also natural health.
That's so cool. I was taking an Orange Theory fitness class the other day, and the lady said, you know, you spend money and energy to remodel your house. Well, your body is your house. So care what you put into it, care what you do to it, because that's your house. Wasn't that well put? Well, that's your house. Take care of your house. It's the only house you're going to get. And boy, business owners are wonderful. It's, you know, you put a lot of money and time and sweat equity into your business, and it can either pay off for you or it can't. So you're putting a lot of risk, and hopefully, you know, the reward will be great. And I've discovered a lot of business owners, the reward is great. So, yes, and you, sir.
I'm John Torner. I'm retired. I was a safety officer for a demolition company.
Yeah, when they're demolishing things, you don't want to hurt any people or anything, right? Or
really? About time somebody told me that. I'm bored, so I'm here.
Good. Nice to have you. We're glad you're here. How many years? Same company?
No.
Different ones?
Because it depends who gets the bid.
Yeah. Ah.
Okay, so like the RCA down in Indianapolis.
Would you go all over the place?
Yeah.
Yeah, but traveling. There's a guy who works for us, and whenever there's a natural disaster, he has to go out and audit them. And so I'm thinking for the storm that we just had, Matthew, he's going to be called. And so whenever it always happens this time of year, and so during tax season, Tony's always late coming on board, but every year we have him come back. But when we just had the national disaster, I'm like, oh, Tony's going to be gone at the beginning of tax season. I don't know if he does something for insurance companies. But great to have you guys. There is only one class ever that we sit down and just read, and that's this class. So this class, we're going to now open up our books and read the chapters, which are 1, 2, and 15. We're going to get as much done as we can. Usually that won't happen because traditionally you'll have read the night before. And so as logic dictates, I'm supposed to, after you read 1, 2, and 15, be able to discuss it today. But I can't foresee how I can make that happen, right? Impossible.
Can I just ask you about the quizzes? How does that work?
The quizzes are, you are not graded, you do them, and then the beginning of each class, we go over the answers. And, yeah. And so you're doing them at home, and then at the beginning of each class, I'll say, Rosemary, what was the answer? John, what was the answer? Rich, was the answer? And you don't hand them in.
But the quizzes that we do at home, is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, and then we'll go over it the next time in class.
Wendy, did you say that we can go ahead and do any of these if we'd like to, just to, or finish them, as we.
Any of the homework, the problems? Yes. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Any other questions you guys can think of? I just tossed a lot of information out there. Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, like what you were saying, we're gonna go over 1, 2, and 15 today.
Yeah.
But normally the way that it works is that we go over that, we do the problems, for homework. We go over, I guess, 3 before we come to class.
Yes.
Our next class.
Yes. So at home,
So,
after you leave here today, you're going to read chapter 3, and I could foresee you're going to have to finish 2 or 15 at home, because there's no way. And to tell you the truth, my husband and I sold our house and we bought a new house, and we're supposed to close today, although we went through the final walkthrough yesterday, and the scoundrels took out a refrigerator, and so I'm now saying we're not closing unless you put that refrigerator back, and they're digging their heels in the ground and saying they won't. So with that being said, I might have to cut class like 10 minutes early today. But to answer your question, Jack, yes. So between here and Monday, you're going to read chapter 3, so that when you get in on Monday, we are going to go over this way that we did this. We're going to go over, I don't know how we're going to do that.
the first classes, chapters. Yeah, that's weird.
I know.
okay,
But let me finish before you, we would be next on Monday, we would go over the quiz for chapter 1, 2, 15, and 3. No, and 1, 2, and 15, and 3.
Yeah, because we're gonna read 3 for
Yeah, and 3 at the top of the class.
okay.
And then I would discuss chapter 3, but you would have already had read it.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that answer your question? Now your question.
Okay, next question is, with the software, are we looking at the software when we're at home now, or is that later?
Yep. You would install the software, but usually for the first few chapters you wouldn't need it. Chapter 1, 2, and 15, you wouldn't need it so much, but you could install the software right away.
Okay.
Granted, I'm not going to collect any of the problems you do. We are going to go over them in class, but doing the problems is going to help you with the midterm that you're going to do and the final that you're going to do. And you'll find that taxes are a building process. You're going to learn wages and you're going to learn interest. It's all a building process. Yes, Tyler.
Mornings are hard for me,
Uh-huh.
and the coffee is not thing.
Of course.
I'm really not a morning person.
Last question.
Yes, sir.
Do you have Wi-Fi here?
I think we do. Let me ask George the password.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we do. You're welcome. Any other questions? Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
And on your fridge situation, you should tell them to take off $1,000.
Yeah.
Sale
Thank you.
price.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Get your own.
Uh-huh. I'm gonna ask George. We mentioned that my attorney said that we'll have to put money in escrow if they don't
Exactly.
produce it.
Because my brother went through that. That's how I know.
I'm just so silly.
And they would, give up the sale of a house over.
I know.
It's probably old.
And I told my husband, are we being silly? And Chris said no, because it's a built-in, it's a wine thing. I could show you a picture. George. Hey, is there Wi-Fi here at the training center in Amherst? Okay, thank you. Thank you, George. Okay, bye-bye. Bye. I actually don't, I'm gonna show you the picture in a minute, my husband has it. So, go ahead and forge on and read those chapters what you can. And maybe in a little while we'll stop. Again, this is the only time that we'll ever read material like this. That's the Wi-Fi password. Any other questions? Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that is great.
2015.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, I just went in the other section.
Oh, that's right, it's in part 2.
Yes. Okay. Oh.
Oh, it's Bruin.
Oh, it's moving, okay. I was looking to see how to do it. Okay.
You know what? It was, the name just came to me at David. It's Christopher Brandages.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Yeah, so it wasn't, the way you said it didn't sound right.
Right. Richard.
Oh, Richard, yeah. It's Christopher Brandages. Do you know him too?
I know of him.
Yeah. I think he does acting too.
Yeah.
Rosemary, I called my husband, and the prior owners said that that refrigerator, I wish I could show you the picture, wasn't there when they bought it. Well, the truth is they did a big remodeling project, and they made this island, and it's an island in the kitchen, has a sink and a faucet and a granite countertop, and it had a refrigerator, and so the island is now gone, and they took out the built-in refrigerator, and so they did this remodel, but it wasn't there when they bought the house, and we have no way of proving that what they did with this remodeling project.
Well, when you went to look at the house,
Uh-huh.
did it say fridge was coming with it?
In the
Or did you have to
contract,
address?
well, we got the refrigerator and the stove that's in the kitchen and the dishwasher, and our lawyer says that then they should have taken the other refrigerator and the other dishwasher.
Because she said that the
Appliances stay, but they took that refrigerator.
well, if it's in there.
She's the owner, the lady, she's a medical doctor, and her husband is a teacher. They're just so mean. They've been mean. They wouldn't let us do early occupancy. They've just been very
Isn't
mean.
it funny that people that seem to have more advantages in life will penny ante
Yes.
everybody on the
Yes. Yeah.
I saw that a lot in my career.
Oh, breaks my heart.
The little guy always went the
Oh,
extra mile and
Yeah, it breaks my heart. Are you guys too cold, by the way?
I'm okay so far.
Okay. There's the thermostat right there if you find that you're not good.
Oh, well.
Oh well. I guess you gotta pick your battles.
You should threaten them with, I'm not gonna buy the house anymore.
We did, and then they just told my husband that we'll lose our $10,000.
Oh, what? I
Mhm.
swear to God.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind if I step outside for 1 minute?
Of course not. Anytime. Yes, is this Ed? Hey, Mr. Ed, this is Tiffany Fabian, the nurse from Scotia. Okay, we'll get you a drive. And I'll talk to you later, okay? I think I'm on Saturday again, is that okay? Hold on. I'll see you Saturday unless I call, okay? Okay. Tyler, we're gonna find out if you make good coffee.
Okay.
Really? Yeah.
Oh.
It makes it so difficult. She has no shit, but she tries things from all ways. Actually, it's getting me
Okay.
on this way. Her husband died.
Right.
We were 3 months in the first time.
Right.
2014. She maintained the house for herself. Okay, who's 70. Jane does not want $3. Jane does not remarry. She's Jane marries Jane's.
I think it should be 15, so it should be married, filing, and joint. Yeah.
Each way she had enough.
Right. Right.
To make it June.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he's.
Following year, it'll be qualifying widower.
Qualifying.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's
Okay.
exactly right.
I just, I was reading these because they are kind of strange.
And I think
They're out of the norm.
Well, unfortunately, it's not that unusual.
Yeah, a lot of loopy. I know. I mean, what did I say? 50%, I mean, that wasn't a divorce situation, but 50% of marriages end in divorce or something, right? Like that. That wasn't what Rich was asking. But
I just got a kick out.
Yeah.
That whole group of them are like that.
like,
They're on the fringe.
right, and then probably that's why the person who used to write our book was a teacher, and she worked for us she was a retired teacher, and she worked for us. And I think he took a lot of her things. I think that was Jean's question. It sounds like a teacher. You know how they ask those questions that are right on the fringe?
Oh, gosh. So what happens on each year when the numbers and publications change and get revised? They just get revised in the book they wrote?
Yes, yeah. And you hope, and there's an editor that edits it too, and you hope that together they catch it, right? I think Rich just showed me something that I think should have said 2015. That book is based on 2015. I think it said 14, I think.
Yes.
Well, I thought that meant so that the 2014 year, they would have been married. The 2015 year, they were widower.
Well, but it said she died in 14, but I think that maybe they were alluding to that.
Her husband died in March
So then
12th of 2014.
Right, so the tax year 2014.
So that's married,
Yeah,
filing,
be married.
joint.
That's right.
Tax year 2015, you'd be a widower.
Right.
Because this thing is all based in 2015.
It's all
That's
based
what
on
I was-
2015.
So 2015 would be the first year as a qualified
Fine widower, right. If that was the intent, Rich, that wasn't a
Just
typo.
as- Yeah,
Mhm.
because I'm assuming it's all 2015.
It is all
I don't think the
2015.
$3 for the presidential campaign, would be a real driver, but that's. okay.
Well, if you give $3 to the presidential campaign, it doesn't change the answer on your tax return.
Okay, I assumed it did not,
Yeah,
but
it
I
does
didn't know if
not.
that was a.
It does not. It does not. Yeah, which is, so you could give it or not give it. Most people don't give it. But it doesn't change the answer.
So when you actually do tax preparation, do you actually ask for something like the death certificate? When you have one of these situations? I'm just asking.
I don't know, you can't, good. A lot of times, we will ask for you're supposed to ask for the death certificate, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of clients that I have done their tax return for many years, and I know that they would never lie about that, so I don't ask them for the death certificate. But if somebody was green, I mean, if the person I had never done their tax return before, I would, put it on hold.
They're new.
Yeah.
You don't know them from Adam. They came to you for the first time.
Yeah, you're supposed to
At
ask
least
for it.
vet them a
I
little
got
bit. I'm sorry.
That's okay, I'm sorry. Hello? Hey. What were you saying? I know the people married, I forget what you were saying.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
They were married?
Uh-huh. They were married, yeah. Oh, the death certificate, so, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, you're supposed to ask for it.
Yeah, because, yeah, especially if it's a new person to the office.
Right.
Well, if they have dependent children, would you also need birth certificates or other proof?
Yeah, especially if it was their first year with us. You would also need, for earned income credit, proof that they live with you, like a school record or a letter from the doctor or something with their name on it with your address.
So if you make an appointment with them to come in, when you make the appointment, you ask some general questions and say, bring this, bring this. Because normally people will just bring in like W-2s and different statements. So is there like a screening process beforehand? Because if not, then somebody would come in and then you got to stop in the middle of everything because they don't have that other documentation. I'm just wondering.
I don't
how far you take
think
it.
we do. I think that when they come in, usually the receptionist over the phone, we ask if they're prior, if they're new, and if they're new, the receptionist might say to bring in copies of Social Security cards. But that's about the extent of it. Yeah, and then if it's anything else, we put it on hold.
And then they
come back,
in or
mail it or fax it or scan it.
So that's a requirement of this company, or is it something that
it's a federal mandate? The earned income credit, if they're getting the earned income credit, they have to prove that those children reside with them. It's not just this company.
But if they don't qualify for the earned income credit and you just want to know whether the filing status,
right?
You'd still need this additional documentation just for your own protection, let's say.
Right. Yeah.
Make sure it's all correctly
done. Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. In about 5 minutes, I'm gonna start going over the chapter because I have to leave at 11:30 because the real estate agent is gonna give $500 of her commission. Other one, isn't that sad? They're not gonna put the refrigerator back. Medical doctor.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
$400 a year.
Yeah.
Don't see the forest from the trees.
No.
It's a matter of principle.
Right, and I have to leave at 11:30. When I stop at 11:30, I won't have time for questions. I have to leave right away. I will see you guys at Monday, 9 o'clock here, and maybe we could stay over like 15 minutes if that's okay. If you could plan on that.
Only 15 minutes.
I know.
In a matter of grand scheme of things in the universe.
Yeah. Okay. So chapter 1 is pretty short, and it just says it's the basics. You know, he talks about the 3 types of filing of the returns on 1-9, the 1040, the 1040EZ, and the 1040A. And the truth is, not everybody can file on a 1040EZ or on an A. For instance, if you have college credit, you couldn't file on a 1040A or an EZ. You couldn't itemize on some of those returns. So there's certain requirements. The nice thing is every return that we do is always going to be on a 1040. Every single return you do will always be on a 1040. And then you'll just price differently according to what they would have qualified for. And every one of the returns that we do starts off in the main information. And as you do the return, on the main info, right at the top it says this return can be filed on a 1040EZ. So the software is built in as you're going through the return. It'll tell you this return would have qualified for an EZ, it would have qualified for an A, it would have qualified for an A, regular 1040. But let me say again, every return that we do is on a 1040, and that'll make it easy for you guys. So every single return that you do will be on a 1040. And then you'll just, when you're done pricing it, you'll price different based on what they would have qualified for. And then the author did screen prints of each of the 1040, the 1040A in that chapter. On page 1-3, it says the purpose of the income tax return. It's to determine and report to the IRS the correct tax due on the income. So the truth is, the Internal Revenue Service wants you to work. They want you to work because if I work 2 jobs, the more that I get to pay into the IRS. If I work 1 job, you're paying into the IRS. So the purpose of the return is to find out how much income tax is due on your income. A properly prepared tax return reconciles the total tax due, including any of the amounts withheld. This can result in a refund, no tax due, or tax due. For instance, I did a tax return yesterday because the 6 months extensions are due October 15th. I did a tax return yesterday for a married couple, and he sold $35,000 of stock. And because he sold the stock, he had a considerable gain. It was like a $20,000 gain. It was a long-term gain, so it was taxed at a lower tax bracket. Nevertheless, he owed $1,500. So even though he had a lot withheld from his wages, he still was short. So your tax return will tell you if you have a refund due or if you're short for the end of the year. And so that's what a tax return will do. It'll tell you what is your filing status. I wrote on the board the 5 filing statuses: single, married filing joint, married filing separate, had a household, qualifying widower. So at the end of the year, so it's 2016, if Jack got married December 31st, 2016, he would have two choices, basically. He would have to do married filing joint or married filing separate. So whatever you are, even if it was the minute of the end of the year, you would have to be married filing joint or married filing separate. Now let's say that Jack didn't get married, so then he would be single, or he could be head of household. Head of household is if you have to have a qualifying child or dependent. So there are the filing statuses, and whatever you are on the last day of the year dictates what your filing status will be. And those are the 5 filing statuses. There is no variation. You can't combine them. You can't mix them up. That's what they are. And he lists on here the most common statuses are single, married filing joint, head of household. Do I need to file a tax return? It said the majority of individuals must file a tax return. But the truth is, some people don't have to file, which is so nice. So let me do a pretend return here. On TaxWise, red means waiting for information. Red is waiting for information. So you can see on TaxWise, the red area is the TaxWise saying, hold on, what's the information? Fill it in. So red is waiting for information. This is going to drive me crazy. That I'm never usually there. So I have a tax return here for Mr. Smith, and let's say he didn't work much for the tax year. He lived with his parents, and he was helping to take care of them, and he didn't make much money. He just made $7,500. And he's a single guy. He is not married. He has no children. And he just made $7,500. That's all. End of story. He made no other money, no pensions, no interest, no dividends. So when you get to page 2, each filing status, each of those filing status has a standard deduction. So the IRS says, okay, if you're single, we're going to toss you some money. If you're married filing joint, we're going to toss you some money too. Head of household qualifying widower. So for single, the IRS is going to toss you $6,300. So they're going to say, okay, Jack, so you're a single guy. We're going to give you $6,300. Right off the top, we're going to give you $6,300. Married filing joint, it's about $12,008. Had a household that's about $7,800. It says in the book what it is. So, and then, oh my God, we are so generous at the IRS. We're also going to give you $4,000 for a personal exemption. So we're going to give you $6,300 and $4,000. My God, aren't they generous? So you have $6,300 and $4,000, right? So that's what the IRS is going to give you. What I mean is that person made $7,500. They don't have to file a tax return unless they make more than $10,300. So legally, this person doesn't have to file a return because the IRS is so kind, and they gave them for their standard deduction $6,300, their personal exemption $4,000. They don't have to file a tax return for federal purposes unless they make more than $10,300.
But they would get money back if they did, right?
Right. Well, you stole my thunder, didn't you, Tyler? They don't have to file a return. Wouldn't it be so easy if it was just black and white? Law is never very easy.
That's a great one.
Right. It is what it is. So they don't have to file a tax return, but they might want to file a return anyways because maybe they'll get the earned income credit. Like Tyler says, he's doing this because he wants to give people money, which is a great thing. Great thing. So they don't have to legally file, but they still might want to file. I wish I could make it easier, but it isn't. So legally, they don't have to file, but they might want to file. They might want to file because they get earned income credit. They might want to file because they had withholdings. In this case, when I did the W-2, I said that he had no withholdings, but he does get the earned income credit. So Tyler, do they have to file? But would they want to file? Yes.
How much is the earned income credit?
503. So the author is telling you that, do I have to file a tax return? In some cases, an individual is not required to file a return. Right there. And if you're over the age of 65, they give you an increased standard deduction. They increase it by $1,200. In certain cases, do I need to file a return? But in certain cases, they might choose to file a return even if it's not required to recover tax money withheld or for certain refundable credits. And then he tells you there's 3 basic forms. We do everything on a 1040. We would just price it. And remember, on the main info, it tells you what it would qualify for. Fingers. And then he puts screen prints of each of the tax returns in here. And then he tells you about the flow of the tax return. And then the roadmap for TaxMatters is at the end. Chapter 2 talks about the filing statuses. And he goes into depth and he talks about married filing joint, married filing separate, and qualifying widower. So single on page 2.4, the taxpayer is single if they are considered unmarried and they don't have any kids. So let's say Tyler at the end of 2016 was not married, but Tyler had a child who he lived with him and he supported more than 50%. So Tyler now can do head of household. And there is a different standard deduction. It's about $8,000 for head of household. And he'll get a personal exemption for himself and his child, which is $8,000. So now this threshold becomes higher, right? But he is going to get a bigger earned income credit because he has a child. And in a subsequent chapter, we'll talk about earned income credit. You can see how we should never have left earned income credit for chapter 15. It is a really important topic. And so that's why we changed the format.
Speaking of important topics, if you need to be out of here by 11:30, it is 11:29.
I love you. You're a cool guy. Thank you for caring. So Monday at 9, and could you guys plan on, and if you can't, staying like 15-20 minutes later past class so we can try to catch up? And I'll see you Monday. Any questions?
So 3, chapter 3.